Hi everyone, it's Karen from the Geordie Grandma. Welcome back to my channel, and it's Sunday, so it is another Sunday Sunshine Show in collaboration with the Transatlantic Housewives, who are myself, Busy Bee Marie, at Maria Crocker and at Tina's Talk Time. And as usual, we'll talk about a specific topic, but we'll all put our own spin on it. And today's topic is we're talking about our favourite holiday destination. We're all going to talk about a different place. So remember to go across and watch Marie, Tina and Maria's videos after you've watched mine. And I'm going to talk about, there were several different places that I thought about. I thought about talking about New Orleans. I thought about talking about Carcassonne in France. But actually, I think one of my favourite places I've been recently is Tenby, which is in South Pembrokeshire in Wales. And we went there in September 2021. So we're just coming out of the pandemic lockdown situations. So I think that was probably my favourite holiday destination recently. So I'm going to talk about that. We did go when our kids were small. We went camping down in that area, and I do remember going to Tenby, but I don't remember it like it was when we went a couple of years ago. And that's probably because when you go as adults without kids, it's a whole different ball game, because you look at it in a different way. You're not looking at it from a child's perspective. So this will be from an adult's perspective. So when we went in September 2021, it was a bit of a strange situation. Warren's mum had died a couple of weeks before we went, so we didn't actually know if we were going to get there. But the funeral was the week before, so it was nice to get away after that, just to relax. And we couldn't have picked a better place, really. It was the middle of September, so it was out of school holidays. It was still busy, but there wasn't lots of children around, and the weather was actually really, really nice. You did still have to wear masks in some places, but that didn't spoil the enjoyment. We stayed in an apartment, and if you go, it's called the Mayville Apartment, and it was kind of on the main street, not far from the little town centre. And if you want to see a video of where we show you around the apartment, I actually have a blog on Tenby where I've included that video in it. So I'll put a link below if you want to go across and have a look at that. I'll just tell you about the main things that we did, and three different attractions that we visited while we were there. So if you're thinking of what they call now a UK staycation, if you're thinking of that, then these things in Tenby might interest you. Like I said, it's in South Pembrokeshire. It's a little seaside town. It's quite a compact little town. Everything's kind of in one place. It's concentrated, so you're not kind of dotting all over the place to get to things. There's some quite steep hills there, so if you're not very mobile, getting up and down to the beach and some of the restaurants may be a little bit of an issue, because there are some steep hills. But that wasn't too much of a problem for us. There's lots of restaurants and bars and cafes there. So I'll talk about a couple of those later on, but I'll just tell you about the three main things that we did when we were there. We like to do a little bit of sightseeing when we go on holiday, and the Tenby was no different. So we discovered something called Caldey Island when we were there. We saw the signs for boat trips across to Caldey Island, which is inhabited by Cistercian monks. Apparently they've been on this island for 1,000 years and they're still on there. And there's like a huge monastery on there and things like that. So we took a little boat trip over to Caldey Island. And at the time of recording this, I think it's £17 per adult for the trip over, but it was definitely worth it. It didn't take long to get there, maybe about 15-20 minutes on the boat. And it is an absolutely beautiful place. There's I'll put some pictures in here as I'm talking. There's some fantastic walks around there and really spectacular views from the top. there's pathways, so it's easy to walk around. It's got nice little, it's called the village centre, where they've got like a cafe and picnic tables, so you could either, you know, buy food from the cafe or take your own picnic with you. It's got a little post office. Like I said, it's still, the monks are still living there, so it's got a little post office, a little gift shop. When we went, it had a little perfume shop, and the perfume was actually made by the monks. And it also has a little chocolate shop where the monks used to make the chocolate. But I've since read, before I did this video, I did a little bit of looking into Caldey Island to see if things were still the same. And apparently, because of the ages of the monks now, they're no longer able to make the perfume. So they closed the perfume shop, and they're selling the last of their stock from the little post office there, which is a shame. And the chocolate, it was actually a chocolate factory, but now it's just they actually make the chocolate on the mainland, and you know, take it across to the island to sell from there. But it was a nice little, you know, look around those little shops, and there's always a gift shop. There's always some nice little things you can pick up in there. So we did have a walk around the island. At the time, because it was just coming out of COVID, you couldn't actually go into a couple of the churches that were on there in the monastery itself. That may have opened up now, but you would need to check, obviously, before you went. But there was one church you could go into, what was a beautiful little old church. And we actually lit a candle for Warren's mum when we were in there. I'm not particularly religious myself, but she liked that kind of thing. So we thought we'd light a candle for her in that church. And it was a lovely little church. The island is really, really beautiful. Definitely worth a visit over there if you're visiting Tenby. So the next place we visited was, I mean, you can't go to Pembroke and Tenby without visiting Pembroke Castle. I love a castle. You've just got to love a castle. And Pembroke Castle it's a, you know, fantastic place. We actually did a free tour while we were there. You get a free tour guide. It took about an hour, and she walked us around like the whole place and told you, you know, interesting facts. And she was also fun as well. She made the tour fun. So that was very enjoyable because you learned quite a lot about it. I learned that Henry VII was apparently born there, which I didn't know. So yeah, it was interesting. There is a lot of steep, windy stairs in the castle and on different things, and you just think, how on earth did they go up and down these, you know, these very narrow, steep, windy staircases in those big dresses that they used to wear? I don't know how they did that. There was also a wine cellar in a cave under the castle, which you could actually go down into. And again, if I wanted a bottle of wine, I wouldn't have fancied going down into the cave for a bottle. But yeah, it's a really interesting place to go. If you like castles, you're going to love Pembroke Castle. They also still have the old castle keep at Pembroke Castle, which is this really, really high tower which you can go up. But I heard people saying that the stairs were really, really steep, and there was an awful lot of them. So I didn't go up it, but Warren did, and he said it was very wearing, so it was a good job I didn't go, because I don't think I would have made it to the top. But he did. But yeah, it is nice. I suppose the views from the top of there would have been really, really nice as well. You could walk along the old castle walls, and the views from there were really good. So definitely, you know, worth a visit. Again, they've got a cafe, they've got a gift shop, but there was picnic tables where, you know, you could take your own picnic with you. I think at the time of doing this video, it's £19.95 per adult to get in, but again, as a day out, I think it's definitely well worth it. The other thing we did was, even though we didn't have kids with us, we love a zoo, and we went to somewhere called Manor Wildlife Park. Pembroke Castle and the Wildlife Park were all definitely within 30 minutes of Tenby, possibly even, I think the Manor Wildlife Park may have even just been a 10-minute drive from Tenby, but I do like a zoo. And they had lots of different animals there. They did have a couple of tigers. They had some little monkeys, lemurs, meerkats. one of the best things I found there was a little wallaby walk where you could buy food to feed the wallabies, and you could walk through, and the wallabies are just, you know, milling around, so you're in amongst the wallabies and they come up and they want the food, and you can actually feed them out of your hand. Oh, they're just so cute. I could have spent all day in there, really. And there was a little very rare albino wallaby born there during lockdown, and he's quite shy, but he did actually come out and we managed to take a photo of him. They're just so cute, very friendly. Yeah, I mean, some people, you know, might not like that kind of thing, getting up close and, you know, personal with the animals, but we really enjoyed that. I definitely could have spent longer in there. And like I say, it was out of term time when we went, so there wasn't many people there, which was quite nice, actually. There's also something called Warren Downs there, where they have giant rabbits, and they've got, like, you know, big hutches for them, and this big area where these giant rabbits can just run around and in and out their little houses, and they're just so cute. I've never actually picked a rabbit up, and I just wanted to pick one up, but I don't think you were allowed to. But I had to take a photograph of Warren next to the sign Warren Downs, obviously, you know, like it's his place. I could have just left him there living in one of those rabbit houses, really, but I didn't. There's also a little goat walk in the wildlife park. I can't remember what it was called. It's got a certain name, and I can't remember. If I remember, I'll put it on the screen. But you just walk through, and all the goats are just, I mean, you've got to love a goat, but they can get a bit playful. So if you don't like animals coming right up to you, you might not want to go in, but they're just so cute. They're very friendly, quite smelly, but they are cute, and they eat anything. But yeah, it was fun walking through there. So if you do like a wildlife park, I thought this was a particularly nice one. Again, they've got cafes where you can buy food, but they also had lots of picnic areas where you could take your own. And if you do have kids, you know, if you did want to go with kids, there's a soft play. There was this big kind of play area with this big wooden dragon thing, which I thought was really fun. Yeah, just lots of space there. There was walks with the llamas, you know, and the keepers would stop, and you could ask questions about them. Just and a lovely walk around the wildlife park. It was, you know, if you like walking, you could spend at least an hour or two walking around it. It was very nice. The views, again, really good. Got zebras there. I said monkeys. Yeah, a couple of tigers. Again, they've got a gift shop, the obligatory gift shop, but if you haven't got kids with you, that's not going to be a problem. So Manor Wildlife Park, definitely worth a visit. So that was Caldey Island, Pembroke Castle, Manor Wildlife Park. If you're going to Tenby, 3 things I definitely recommend you go to. They also have some fantastic beaches in Tenby, if that's your thing. We're not the type of people who sit on the beach, but it's nice to walk along it. And they are really, wide, sandy, beautiful beaches in Tenby. And they've also got there's another little island called St. Catherine's Island, which has actually got a 19th century fort on it. And you can go up to that and you can look around it. I think it was £5 when we were there a couple of years ago. It may be more than that now. And we didn't actually do that. But we went across, you can go up these stairs, you go to the top, and it is the ruins of Tenby Castle, and from there you can see right across to St. Catherine's Island, and the view from there is definitely worth the climb to just see that. It was really lovely, and we sat for quite a while up there, just looking out to sea. That's my favourite thing to do, is look out to sea. Just so that is, these stairs are quite steep and windy. There may be another way to get up there. And there's not much of the ruins of Tenby Castle left, even though a lot of the walls are still left, not much of the castle left. But it is worth going up there just for the view of St. Catherine's Island. Like I said, there was also lots of restaurants there, Italian, Chinese, Indian. We found this Indian restaurant, which is right at the top of the town centre, so you don't have to go down the steep hills to this. It's just in one of the little back lanes, and I think we came across it because the apartment we stayed in had some leaflets and stuff, and I think we came across that in there. We hadn't booked a table, so when we went, it was called the Bay of Bengal, by the way. When we went, it was really busy, but they did manage to squeeze us in, and we got a table actually on the balcony outside, overlooking the Tenby Bay. Absolutely beautiful. It was getting quite dark when we were there, so you know, the lights and just really, really spectacular. The views and just sitting there it was like being abroad. It was so nice, and the food was really, really lovely. I'm not a big fan of Indian food, I have to say, because I don't like coriander, and they put coriander in everything. But I did have the onion bhajis to start with, and they were the best onion bhajis I've ever eaten. Mostly I find they're quite stodgy, but these weren't. They were crispy and light and just very, very nice. And I think I had tandoori prawns for a main. Now Warren likes a hot curry, and I think he had the chicken madras, and I think there was a one with one chili, and then there was a one with 2 chilies, and I said to him, well, go for the 2 chilies, because when you get curries, they're never hot enough for you. So he went for the hotter curry, and by God, was it hot. His ears were practically steaming. There was tears coming down his face. It was that hot. He did enjoy it, but I certainly couldn't eat that. But now, whenever he has a curry, there's a curry scale, and it is 1 to Tenby. So if it's really, really hot, it's a Tenby. And if it's not, it's, you know, further down. But yeah, the scale is now 1 to Tenby for curries. But I highly recommend the Bay of Bengal restaurant if you go to Tenby. I think they've changed the balcony slightly. It had railings, I'm sure, when we went, and I was looking on the pictures a couple of days ago, and now it's got like it must be like perspex glass, like rail thing around. So they've definitely changed that. But the food was fantastic. Definitely the best Indian food I've had. And like I say, if you ask for a table outside and it's, you know, kind of getting dusk and just, you know, and that light just looks really, really nice. Absolutely lovely. There's also lots of little gift shops within Tenby town centre. It's got the old medieval walls still around part of it, and I think they're from the 13th century, so they're quite interesting, but everything's kind of contained within it. So there's lots of little gift shops with more than the usual seaside town gifts. You know, there was one shop there, I can't remember what it was called now, I'll put the name here if I remember, but it was huge. It was over like 3 floors, and there was little rooms, you know, offshooting from each other, and just so interesting. You could definitely have spent an hour in there looking around, and I think we did actually. But yeah, lots of little gift shops, lots of little ordinary shops to go to, you know, your ordinary Marks and Spencer's type places if you want to go into them when you're on holiday. Lots of food shops, you know, if you're eating in the apartment. Just so, everything just so contained. And like I say, we're hit well on the weather when we were there. Really lucky, but I would definitely like to go back to Tenby. It was about an 8-hour drive for us from Gateshead to Tenby, but we had an audio book and we listened to that on the way, and you know, we had to stop for like a herd of cows crossing the road, but it all adds to the, you know, the adventure of the holiday, doesn't it? Sometimes it's quite nice to drive, although I don't drive. Warren did all the driving, so maybe not for him. But yeah, it's a shame it's not a bit closer. So that was my favourite holiday destination. I just thought doing a one in the UK, it sometimes gets a bad rap, especially if you live in the UK. Sometimes gets a bit of a bad rap for holidaying here because the weather can be rubbish like it is this summer. But if you do want to stay somewhere, I highly recommend Tenby. So that was, like I say, that was my favourite holiday destination. I'm not quite sure what Tina, Maria and Marie are talking about, so don't forget to go across and watch them. And next Sunday's video is, I think it's things that are on our bucket list. So that should be fun to write and fun to talk about. If you've got any ideas for us for videos, feel free to let us know in the comments below, because we kind of brainstorm things to talk about each Sunday, and sometimes it is hard to come up with stuff. So if you have any ideas for us, just let us know in the comments and we'll do our best to do that for you. So thanks so much for watching. That's all I've got for you now. I'll see you soon. So bye for now.